Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 11 of Stat Check. This is what happens in Houston stays in Houston. I am Innes, and I am joined, as always, by Vince and Nathan.
Can you say that city name just one more time for me, Innes?
Houston.
Thank you. Okay.
Houston.
All I heard was what happens in Houston stays in Houston.
They play a lot of Death Guard there. That's what happens.
They do. It's true. How's it going, Innes?
Houston, mission control, blah, blah. I don't know, man. I don't know what you want from me. I have an accent. I'm sorry. How dare I? I've heard you guys butcher my cities enough.
You do. You dare a lot, Innes. Let's be honest here. You dare a lot.
You have trouble with Alexa?
No?
Okay.
Have you seen that skit of two people trying to use an elevator with Scottish accents? Okay.
Even just there's a video of like a little Scottish girl trying to use Alexa, and it's hilarious because it just won't do what she says.
I struggle with a couple of albums where it's like, no, that's not even a little bit what I said, but like broadly, it's fine. Anyway, hello everybody, and welcome to this week's show. We are going to be talking, as always, the latest on the meta stats, the meta rundown, how much we hate Votann, how much they're just exactly the same as Drakari, and it doesn't matter. Just get good, look at your codex, find your chainswords.
They're just a hammer in a sea full of nails.
And then we'll be taking some listener questions towards the end. We're going to be running for about 90 minutes today, as always. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Let us launch into it with how has your week's been?
I'll go.
Anyone can start because Anthony apparently has. So.
My weekend was fine. I got my booster shot for Omicron and the flu shot, so my weekend was mostly spent recovering from both of those things. Because apparently, the thing you want most in the world is your immune system to just activate against you for a whole weekend.
I think getting both of those at the same time is a really easy thing to deal with.
Oh yeah, my Saturday was definitely a lot of fun as my body felt like it had aged 50 years. Day 2 was mostly okay, but day 1 was
tip-top.
Yeah,
terrible. We're definitely going to have to discuss what do you call those little ice cream those little ice things, the frozen ones?
Just an ice pop, bro.
Isn't it just I always just called those like push pops or like I don't know.
That's a jube over here.
A jube.
What?
Jube. Like and then Edward Bentley in the chat has just said, "Is Anthony eating a tip top? An ice bowl?" Yeah.
Those are all accurate. You can call them whatever you want.
I feel like you just found a way to call me soft, whatever Innes just said. Like I felt like that was like an insult.
Well, do you cut it at the top with scissors or do you crack it in the middle?
You can crack it in the middle?
Yeah, you can just crack them in the middle.
Yeah, you just have both halves.
Just go bap.
Whoa.
Revolutionized.
Cool. Busting out the scissors like an idiot.
Otherwise, I played like a couple practice games with Harlequins into Demons and then into Chaos Space Marines. The Chaos Space Marines match went fine. The Demons one I very underestimated. 18 flamers and the terrible things they do to boats.
Oh, flamers are really bad for Harlequins. That matchup in general is fine, but like the flamer specifically is really bad.
Well, also, I was like staring at the Bloodthirst and I was like, I don't know if I have a good solution to this problem, especially when I took 8 wounds off of him. And then I was like, oh, he's not bracketed yet. I need to do. And then he came back the next turn and regenerated his all army D3 wounds because he rolled enough on the Warp Storm table and then killed a squad of troops and was back at 20 basically. And I was just like, oops.
He only heals on a 5-up. Like, it's not...
Just roll 5s, bro.
All right.
Look,
bad
man,
stuff was happening.
Look, Anthony, you are not equipped for Votann meta if your solution for right now's problems isn't at least just roll 5s.
Sorry, my bad.
But it was a really good learning experience for maybe flamers are really good and maybe you should stay more than 12 inches away from them or charge them around corners.
That seems good.
One of those two things.
Use terrain.
Use, like, anything resembling an Overwatch denial mechanic.
I also learned that Lords of Change are chumps in combat, and it was really funny when I almost chopped one apart with a troop master in a round of combat.
It's not just combat, bro.
Yeah, they're kind of just shit. Yeah, they're not very good.
When your entire function is replicable by a Fate Skimmer, you know you're not a top tier unit.
Yeah. My opponent's conclusion at the end of that game was to substitute the Lord of Change for Scarbrand, and I was like, that seems like the right choice.
1000%.
So, Anthony,
It's a
how
really
was
low
your fruit pop weekend? Apparently,
Fruit Pops are good. I was amazed that like a giant thing of these was like $2 when I was in Walmart. So thanks, Walmart. My weekend was pretty good. I mostly just relaxed. I didn't really do anything too crazy. I went to New York City to meet up with DJ Logan from our Discord. So I got to meet him in person, which was really cool because I've been friends with him since I started playing Blood Angels. So that was a while ago. So meeting him in person was cool. We went to the Museum of Natural History. Him and his missus were both awesome. So yeah, that was a fun day on Saturday. Sunday, kind of just chilled. Didn't do anything too crazy. And yeah, someone is making a crazy noise. I don't know what that was. Maybe that was my end. Don't know. But yeah, that was my weekend. Didn't do anything super interesting. I have an RTT this coming weekend though, which will be the first time I played an RTT in God knows how long. In classic local RTT fashion, the TO explained to me that he thinks that Sean's going to be there, so that'll be fun.
Well, it's at least good practice.
Yeah, it'll be good practice if nothing else. I jokingly complain about that, but I am actually super excited both to see Sean and maybe play against him. So,
What, you think you're taking just your Emperor Children list or something?
yeah, I'm just gonna play Emperor's Children because I am trying to practice at least a little bit for Chicago. So it'll either, unless like the slate comes out and Bile skates and I can somehow get Possessed done in time, which is not going to happen. So.
Yeah, I have a friend's borrowed Galvor back sitting on a shoulder, on a shelf, just in case. I'm like, I'll just play a bit of bio.
I am grateful to my commission guy that he's going to get 15 GW legit Possessed done before the open. I will not push him for 30. 30 is for if I can figure out a way to make them reasonable for Coventry. And I don't think they're super great on UKTC boards. So,
yeah, they're going to struggle across in midfield.
Right. So
they're going to hide in your deployment zone real good and then nowhere else.
Yeah, and then it's just the mad dash across the board with warp time and shit to try to just get there and then be like, all right.
You got one turn, buddy.
Yeah, you get one. And I don't know if that's better as word bearers or as creations, but that's just like a thing that
I convinced one of my friends to put 20 word bearer, 20 Bile Possessed and 10 Terminators on the board for LGT. I was like, dude, you're not going to figure this out with shooting. Stop putting Havocs in your list. Go and just run this at people.
Yeah, the Terminators and Bile make me a little sad because they have a really hard time hitting. I like them more in EC or Bears, but they're still good. Like Chaos Terminators are just generically strong. So yeah, it just depends. It's all very. Yeah.
It's all very. Who cares? Who cares? Votann exists. So
yeah. Well, no, not even just that. It's pretty coin flippy until we get a slate. And we know like what the foreseeable future at least is like. Once Votann comes out, you just accept those are L's, and then you kind of try to make it as reasonable a matchup as you can, which is why I put the classic lose less Psychic Interrogate in my list now. So,
hey, man, that's ritual a lot of the time.
You can't ritual against Votann, dog.
Yeah, you can. Just run 4 Psychers.
No, I will not.
Just give up the maximum amount of all sorts of stuff. Why not?
Yeah, I'll stand over there and interrogate.
Why are they putting characters in range of you?
I'll go to them, but like behind a wall, around a corner, over there.
I was surrounded by 30 Terminators.
Yeah, like we'll get interrogate. That's fine.
You're gonna get 15 points of interrogate, and that's it.
No,
well,
like,
12. They're in transport
12.
turn 1.
Yeah, 12. I'll get like handful of primary points, couple long war points. It's not going to be an exciting game, but you know,
I'm here for my 40, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. I'm trying to score.
Oh, Christ, Anthony, you make it sound so foregone.
It
But
is.
you're right, but you do make it sound that way too.
Yeah.
Do we now, Innes? Tell us about your weekend. Now that we've waxed philosophic about push pops and Emperor's Children and word bearers.
Yeah, all right. So I had a couple of practice games at the weekend. I played a couple games with my GSC again with Blood Angels to help a friend practice, which is good. It's nice to get the LGT boards out again and actually practice on them. I feel like I've played on them enough to just be like, yeah, this is a format I understand now. But it's good to like actually get it on the table and properly play it. What are you laughing at? You're muted.
Yep. This made me Giggle. Nurgle Matthew saying Trader Leagues of Votann is my next Death Guard army. That was pretty good.
I definitely didn't join the Votann Buyers Club. Ordered 2 of my boxes, along with everybody else on the planet that plays 40k and wants to win. So I'm assuming Anthony didn't bother. And
Well, I bought some boxes. I'm just also going to sell them.
okay, that makes more sense.
And then,
like
you, I don't have infinite power to just be like, I'm the Votann player on my team. So
you should try it. It's really fun. You remember how WTC made up the cards for us? Well, I kept the Votann one, so that means that I get the army. That's how we determine all things in Scotland. It's by the cards. So yeah, if you don't have the card, it doesn't. Sorry, buddy, I can't do anything for you.
I see.
And then I also have an RTT this weekend. On Sunday, I will be playing my GSC for that, which is still confusing. I still don't understand how that list works.
I've not yet spoken to anyone except Eric, who seems like they have a really firm grasp. Every time someone's like, "What do you do?" and then I talk to Eric, and he's like, "Just score points, bro. Just kill people."
I mean,
it's really important.
That's what I'm doing. I'm 9-1 with it, but I don't understand why or how. That's all I got. So yeah, that's it's been fun. I refuse to change the list because I don't understand it and I don't want to break it. And yeah, I got my draw for the LGT Invitational this week, so I'm going to be playing James Grover from Goonhammer round 1. That I'm really looking forward to. I've not gotten to play James before. I have played Liam, who's one of the other guys. He's playing Necrons, man. Like, let's not be like,
oh
poor
no.
guy. he knows what he brought. I ended up being the 3rd seed in the ITC rankings and 2nd seed in public voting. So that is name recognition getting out there, guys. Thank you so much. Gutted I didn't beat Manny, but I also understand why I didn't. But yeah, that's some solid name recognition line. There's some good players on the list. So to have enough people who know your name and nobody else's, it's great.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. That's how you meant to wield clout, I figure.
Yeah, you need more post-game selfies, get you up there.
I don't use enough hashtags. That's what it is.
More post-game selfies with like food afterwards, apparently.
Yeah, nobody wants to see what I eat after a tournament, man. That is
no, you don't.
Just me sad in a McDonald's. Like, it's not what you need. Like, even if I won, I'll just be sat there, my 2 burgers and a 20 of nuggets. Like, it was only 70p more than the 9.
Look, man, that's how they get you. They're like, yeah, if you spend 70 more cents, you get twice the nuggets.
But I only wanted 6.
Yeah.
Well, now you're eating 20.
Hopefully, this just makes us efficiency, whether it's fast food or GSC.
It's so insidious. It's like, do you want to go from 30p to go from 6 to 9, and then it's only 70p to go from 9 to 20? It's like,
what's it from 20 to 40?
We don't sell 40, mate. So it's
double. Weak.
That's why I'm only the size I am and not much bigger. Is that we stop at 20?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Nobody's selling you 40 chicken nuggets.
They do WTC scoring even on their nuggets.
That's how we're efficient, mate. That's what you do. Whenever me and Chris go to a tournament, we split the box based on how we played in the last round. Chris doesn't get to eat.
That's why Chris is so skinny and you're not. All the differential.
Focus. Don't make another joke. Just keep it moving.
How about we just move into the meta that is before it becomes the meta that was?
Let's move on to the stats section and let Nathan.
That was?
Technically, we are always reporting on outdated information.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yes, I can't prognosticate the future. It's true.
Well, it's also very difficult to talk about the present because it becomes the past shortly after.
Technically, before you've even said it, your information's outdated because it takes that long to say.
By the time it even gets processed by my brain, it's already the past. Yes.
So what we're actually saying is Votann are outdated already. Move on, kids.
Yep. 6 months from now,
God, I can't believe
every other meta
so
is going to be fine. If only people didn't know what 9 basilisks did to world eaters. No.
Shut up.
Oh god, I forgot that there's a World Years Codex coming. I think GW did too.
I think they did forget. They're just really angry about Cadia. Watch the artillery guns actually fire from strategic reserves.
That's all right, man. They're gonna reset the 40k universe and bring Cadia back before Guard get a Codex. So don't worry about it.
The Acadians
are gonna
be sick.
Yeah, they're gonna die 12 inches up the deployment zone instead of 6. Like
they will be sick in that they will be casualties. They'll be listed among the sick and the dead. All right, meta reporting. This was a really slow weekend, and I was really busy, so I didn't do a lot of analysis for this weekend. Suffice it to say, there were only 4 events tracked, so there's not a lot of player numbers. There's not a lot of data to go off of for just this week. Our week leader, though, for 10 or more players playing a faction is Tau, who won a grand 65.1% of their games, which is quite something. They beat out Harlequins at 61.5. Who only had 5 players, but Chaos Soup at 59.7. Tyranids at 58.6, obviously dead.
Dead faction, right? Completely unplayable.
Sisters at 57.7. Necrons at 55.6. And Chaos Space Marines at 52.1. Demons also kind of popped back. There were 16 players this weekend, which is kind of a nice hop. They hopped up to 5.6% of the meta. And they had a 51.2% win rate this weekend. So we're seeing Demons kind of popping back up from 0.4% of the meta to 5. You know, just a cool over 10-fold increase in representation.
They couldn't go further down.
So
it's true. It was really hard to go further down. But I do want to say this just because I find it kind of funny. In second place for factions, although there were only 8 players, was Astra Militarum at 61.6% win rate. But they only had 8 players. So it's not really like a whole lot to talk about there. Yeah. I do think it's funny, though. And at the bottom is Adeptus Mechanicus at 31.3% with just 3 players for the whole weekend.
If you can't be balanced, you have to be bad.
Yeah.
And bad is where you get to be. Suck it, Admech.
The second place pure faction is our Friendly Elves, the Assyriani or Craft World Eldar, who just stayed out of the being 10 or more players at 9 players and had a 36% win rate. But don't worry, the worst faction with at least 10 players was Space Marines at 42 players. And the Space Marines had a 39% win rate. And had a 15% meta representation over the weekend. So don't worry, Power Armor folks. You're still the worst, no matter what.
Space Marines definitely are an army that exists.
Yep. I will say one other thing. I talked a little bit about this last week, but I only had numbers through the 4th, and now I have the numbers through the 11th. So I'll just share my screen real quick so everybody can kind of see what I was going to talk about. We'll have meta dashboard stuff up a little bit later this week. Just a few things have been delayed. So as you can see, the meta has kind of flattened a little bit. So it's kind of just in the same state that it's been.
Numbers.
What are you talking about now?
Forces number. Look at it right above the pack. Best army in the game.
Do you know why Forces is do you know why Forces is hidden though? Is masked?
Sponsored by BiffPod.
Oh, goodness.
That's partially true. That is the only Discord where it gets any rep.
Yep. So there's only 21 games played of it. So we've hidden it a little bit because there are so few games played. It just like Titanicus Tritoris and Adeptus Titanicus.
Yeah. Forces of the Hive-Minded Titanicus Tritoris are about the same in my estimation, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Both of them are garbage.
I think about them equally when
somebody
I'm
has fun with them a lot. I'm going to assume it pretty much depends on whether or not you think that you get all of your Hive Fleet adaptations or not in a mixed list of forces.
You don't. It's fine, but whatever.
But some people think you do, and so that's probably got something to do with the win rate there. Otherwise,
depends how much better you are than everyone that plays near you, right?
True. If you are a big fish in a little pond, you're probably doing pretty well with it as well. Otherwise, the meta's pretty stable right now. I mean, we all know kind of the top performing factions and kind of the middle performing factions. There's a lot of open room right now for factions to win GT or larger events. We see that in the week-to-week numbers. I mean, you can see that in the fact that Guard have performed relatively well as of late. Otherwise, it's pretty stable going into Votann, which is probably something that we're going to talk about further on this, is how Votann are going to impact.
I have a follow-up for you though, Nathan. Do you have
What's
an
up?
umbrella? Because it does say that that there's rain coming.
Oh,
In the
I mean,
bottom
I'm
left of the
inside. I was like, yeah, you want to see some more stuff from my screen? There you go. It is some real professional shit.
Thank you, cool. It's worth
You're
confirming.
welcome.
So I want to make sure that you're not getting a cold, man. Like just
No,
Yeah.
it's actually quite warm here, all things
Okay.
considered. It's
I'm
84
glad.
degrees and humid.
I take heart from that. Thank you.
Fortunately, unlike in the UK, we have air conditioning in this country, or at least fans.
Well, they have
Yeah, we
air
have fans
conditioning
all
in
over the world.
just only in parts of it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Ennis also super doesn't need air conditioning because I was there when it was supposed to be super hot, and it was entirely fine.
It wasn't
Was
that
it-
bad when you were here.
Was it like
was
70 degrees or something like that? Like a nice standard room
No
temp
idea.
or something?
I actually don't remember. Yeah, it felt like it was 70, but everywhere it just said that it was like 19 or 20. So
Fair. All right. So do we want to talk about why we're sad about Votann?
again.
I don't know.
Oh,
It feels like we
God.
need to have this conversation again because a bunch of people
Okay.
on the internet are telling us that we're wrong and that everything that we think about this
Yeah,
Votann
but nobody who
situation is
matters is
wrong.
saying that,
let me
right?
start on a positive note. Is that okay? Can we do that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Shout out to the German TOs who have had the foresight and the knowledge and the fucking stones to ban this book before it comes in and just wrecks what is a reasonable meta.
I mean, they are just doing no FAQ, no play. They're
That's not what it
banning
said.
it. That's what I understand from speaking to some people in that scene. But-
That's not what it said. They said
Yeah.
they'll review it after it is nerfed. So
Fair enough.
I think no FAQs, no play is a reasonable thing. I'd actually like to see things make it through a data slate before they get played. But FAQs is a short enough bump that that's fine too. Mostly, I just don't think that release Votann should be allowed to be played in what is otherwise a reasonable meta, because I think it ruins what is a good thing that we have going right now, especially in a post slate that's coming world. It's really frustrating. But it is really cool to see a significant portion of a fairly large community take the steps to do something about it. And I wanted to just applaud and shout out that effort.
I can't find it at all. But back in 8th edition, I made a meme and I was very proud of it. It's do you know the one where it's like the little dog where it's like super buff and then the dog where he's like super sad. And it was just the community in 7th edition, the community in 8th edition. In 8th edition, everybody collectively lost their balls and stopped changing the rules. We were like, nah, GW got it right this time. ITC and FLG in 7th edition just straight up said, fuck the game, we're going to rewrite it. And then they did, and it was, to some definitions, better. I think the other major formats like Nova and WTC or ETC at the time did as well. They rewrote it in other ways. And then in 8th edition, everybody went, we'll just play the game rules. And then it's been bad since.
I feel like calling 7th good and 8th bad is a little controversial, but
no, the 7th core rules, down with you on that one. But the community said, right, why don't we make this better rather than just accepting the status quo? And the community completely lost its balls on doing that in 8th edition. And then just went, we'll just play book permissions. And then they didn't even do that properly. So,
yeah, I would like to see a return to at least some of that now, specifically for this. I think it's important. I think it helps a lot. And I think they deserve a lot of praise for doing it. And that's how I feel. Agile TO is the thing I really like to see.
But Anthony, they didn't ban any of the other factions. Why should we start banning factions now?
Holy fucking shit. Okay. So
I'm gonna mute for a bit.
If one more person says this to me, I've run out of ability to be nice about this. This army is not Drukhari, it's not Admech, it's not Tau, it's not Custodes, it's not Harleys, it's not Nids. This army is better than all of those armies. Calling things broken all equal is wrong and stupid, and people need to stop doing that. No, I don't care how good you are. If you play an equal skill player on Votann, when you don't play them, you're going to fucking lose. And I don't care what happens in the game or what you do or whatever. It does not matter. You're going to lose unless they make an egregious mistake or 7 to the point that they do not at that point deserve to be called equal skill to you. I am a notorious meta whore. I will play the strongest thing always, except in this situation. I played Drukhari and lost on mirrors. I played Harleys, Nids, all of them, and lost on mirrors. I would be astonished if I lost a non-mirror as Leagues of Votann. They are very different, and it is beyond frustrating to listen to, oh, well, we've had broken stuff before. It's not the same thing. Please stop saying that.
So I saw a Twitter poll from Mikey at House on Wargaming who just posted 50-50 vote. Would Leagues of Votann still be broken if judgment tokens just didn't exist?
Dude, you could remove the entire mechanic.
Exactly.
It would be insane.
They would still be the best army in the game if you removed that mechanic.
Yep.
It's insanity. The army is beyond ridiculous. I don't understand how they've shipped in this state, and it's going to be very funny. Shall we, in a productive manner, talk about what TOs and communities can do to mitigate Votann for the time being?
Yeah, 100%. Because there's definitely a lot of stuff you can do.
I think one of the easiest things you can do just early on is if you have like a player base is you can say no play until FAQ. Like that's the easiest, gentlest, and like softest delay if you're concerned about how like a soft ban or a ban would be perceived among your community or something like that. Personally, one of the ways I've seen integrating it as well is like banning models that just aren't released yet. So like people can't play 3D printed or proxied land fortresses at events, and no conversions of those models will be accepted until those models are accepted in the wild.
So
or
you're
like
saying the 3 Caradron Overlords frigates I just bought are not going to be
correct. So some events just won't allow those types of things is another one that I've heard of. I personally support a ban until it's fixed because I don't think the first FAQ ever really adjusts for balance. Like the first FAQ adjusts for weird rules interpretations and sometimes fixes things like razor flails attacks exploding forever essentially and stuff like that.
The first Drukhari FAQ killed Techno. Like they do adjust things sometimes, but they haven't actually done that since then. So
right. I just worry that an FAQ wouldn't touch on like the multiple factors because like we just mentioned, it's not just judgment tokens. The whole army is probably like 25% undercosted given the mechanics that are on each of the data sheets.
So as an example, this morning I watched what was a custom league with no traits to buff output in any way, shape, or form on what I considered their like third or fourth best build as Votann, which is many sags and a bunch of berserkers in them, and basically nothing else on the list. Sprint a Necron army to death in 2 turns. Like Necrons scored like 30 points in the game. Like that is wild. Like nothing else does that.
Nids do that.
Not really.
Nids can do that. I don't think that's egregious.
Not on their 4th best build, bro.
Okay. Nids only have one build. What do you want about?
Faction.
Nids only have one build. What do you want about?
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, I get you.
You don't get to make this level of like non-optimal output choices in other armies and still just bully blast people off the table. Like, that's not a thing that happens. Yeah. And like, I use tabling people as an example because when you're tabling your opponent, it's almost an issue of like disparity, right? It's power disparity. It's not like you're like scoring a million and doing some cool thing. Yeah, it's just you just get rickrolled, and that's strength, and that's again in there. I can't stress this enough. And like they're like not the first, not the second, not the third, like way deep in the power tree levels of build. It's frustrating.
That makes sense. Innes, what would you do, and what do you think about attempts to temporarily ban or hold until FAQ?
You want to play dwarves, you don't get kneecaps. You got to play without your kneecaps. You got to crouch down at the table, play kneeling the entire time.
Do I have to do that?
Yeah, everybody.
Oh,
you got to go down to
so
dwarf fight.
short.
I think that would solve it because none of them will be able to see the table, and then you could probably beat them over 5 turns if they can't roll dice.
Oh, maybe.
I like that. That's a maybe for you, Anthony, rather than just like yeah. No, I think genuinely first of all this splash release doesn't count as the release. They can't play them until the actual book is out. This is a pre-order book. Nothing. It just doesn't get to get played at the moment because the book is not officially out yet. And then yeah, I have been a proponent of no data slate, no play for a while. But the issue I have with no data slate, no play is when do we agree an army is fixed, right? Like Nids have been through a data slate. Would you call Nids fixed? I know it's a less outstanding egregious. It's a less outstanding, less bad representative of that. But I wouldn't say Nids are particularly balanced. Same with Harlequin. They've both been through 1 and 2 data slates respectively.
I feel okay playing against and beating. Like if I play against a bad Nids player, a bad Harlequins player, I'm going to suplex them into the ground. Like I could play against a bad Leagues player and just get rolled for free. Similarly, like even on release, if you played against a bad Clowns player or a bad Nids player, you would throw them into the dumpster.
Not disputing that. I'm just saying, like, where do we draw the line of if the German meta is saying no, like we will review after they are nerfed. How do we review when nerfed is enough? Because you have to draw a line somewhere.
Yeah, and I don't know how to do that or what that is. I know that I like the current implementation where it's like at least make it to a data slate.
Yeah.
I think too, though, that like as described now, it's not just Tyranids and Harlequins winning events. At least it's not even just Necrons winning events, and people talk about Necrons, especially at top level play.
No.
And I think even though the win rates for those factions are high, the percentage of other lists that can still win at events is also high. That doesn't mean that those factions are perfect, but they're definitely like toned down to the point where if you play into an equally skilled player and your list isn't like horrifically being skewed against or something like that, you have a chance to win in that matchup.
Yeah,
I think
I would actually. Sorry. I was going to say that I think that, so post Votann release, if you let Votann run free in your meta and you have Votann players showing up to and not winning at events, that's actually more of a condemnation of the strength of the group than it is like the Votann players at the event than it is anything else. Like I don't actually, like we'll see it. It'll happen. Like there'll be events even after Votann come out where they're allowed and they're fully legal. But they'll be piloted by people that are less experienced or less skilled at the game, and they won't win. And people will be like, see, over there in blah, blah, blah land, it didn't even win.
Yeah, it'll be really funny when, like, the best Votann player on the planet coin flips the mirror, gets beat, and then that Votann player loses to random chucklefuck on Harlequins that outscored him for 5 turns.
Yep.
And then doesn't win the tournament. And it's like, yep, that'll definitely happen.
Yep. There's also like a point to be made that even at like the highest of highs for factions, like even Harlequins only ever hit barely under an 80% win rate and still weren't winning every event.
Barely.
They were barely under. Yeah, it was like 0.5% or something like that. Maybe 0.3. I can't remember exactly.
It was real close.
It was very close, but the underlying statement there is just like, even at that point, Harlequins were not winning everything. They were winning most of the things at that point,
Yeah.
but
It's
not
still
everything.
really difficult to win a tournament, guys. Like, don't
Yeah.
like
I
you
think
got to
that's
get
actually
lucky to
something
win
that's
any tournament.
I think there's actually something that's like worth briefly touching on is like what goes into people who have won more tournaments than me, because I have won one GT level event and it was not the same as like the kinds of competition that you guys face on the regular. Is like what goes into how either of you wins an event and like what kind of things have to go right, or like what kind of things do you have to plan for as you go through an event?
Do you want to go first, big boy, as you've won super majors and I haven't?
Sure. You're going to play at least one game where you coin flipped it. Like, it's going to happen. There's going to be a game that you had to go first and you went first. There's going to be probably quite a few of those. There's going to be games where, you know, the unbelievable luck happened and everything like that, especially when you're talking like the 7, 8, 9, 10 round events. The level of players you're playing against and the level of just sheer amount of time there is for dumb shit to happen in a game of 40k just grows exponentially to the point where something dumb is going to happen in one of your games and it's going to decide it. I played a game against Kyle at Newcastle. I failed a 6-inch charge rerollable with my Hive Tyrant, stood in front of a Tau army, and then didn't die as it to the last. Stood in front of 2 Hammerheads and 2 squads of Crisis Suits. Shouldn't happen. Definitely did.
Too late now. We're here.
It's like, yep, definitely won that game anyway. Yeah, you will play so many games like that over the course of a GT. You have to get lucky to win. Outside of like RTTs and events where you are significantly more skilled than anybody you play against, and even then, there's still aspects of this because you can just get conflict on yourself. Where if you want to win a tournament, at some point down the line, you have to get at least a little bit lucky. You just can't. You can't win a tournament with pure skill. It just isn't really a thing. Unless you were just so significantly better than everybody you're playing against.
At which point, winning is like, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, sure. Like if I show up to my local RTT, I'm not particularly worried about whether I'm going to go 2-1 or 3-0. I will go one of those. If I get unlucky, that's the difference. Whereas if I'm going to a GT or a major, I'm trying to get lucky to get to the 5-0 and top of the bracket or the 7-0. That's the difference. It's just the scale of where the luck is. Right. So for me, I would say I usually go 4-1 or 5-0 at a GT event. It's do I get the luck to go 5-0 or 4-1? Whereas an RTT, it's do I get the bad luck to go 2-1? Whereas I'm expecting to go 3-0, and then that scales up as you go down events, and the more skilled your opponents are.
Yep,
that makes sense.
Also, it depends to some degree on like what you're playing, right? Like I had Cherokee as my shining example of this. Like I took good stuff Drukhari when I thought that it was still enough, and I was wrong. So like those pre-event gambles that you take sometimes are wildly incorrect.
Yeah,
and
you've also got. Sorry.
So, and you end up with a really rough path. Like my path at Cherokee was something like Custodes, Crusher, Tau, Crusher, Custodes, or something like that. And then like Eldar Artillery. Like that's a really bad path. And sometimes you end up with a path that a friend of mine had, which was like pre-buff Necrons, Templars. He was playing Custodes. He just big boy time, rolling through orcs, like having a grand old time. And that's sometimes the path that you get to top 8. Like you don't have any control over that. As a player, it's on you to play the game that's in front of you, but a lot goes into consistent tournament wins.
Yeah. There's also
sometimes
a degree. Sorry, I keep doing this. There's a degree of the meta at the top tables is not always the meta at the tournament. And if you're prepped for the meta at the top of the tournament and you draw one of those mid-table matchups round 1 or round 2, or you lose an early round and end up in those mid-tables, it used to be one of those things where like if you played Horde Orcs in 8th edition, if you won your first 2 games, you were set. If you lost a game, you played the guy with 18 aggressions and Gulliman. And it's like, oh no, I should not be down here because that's down here. It's like falling into the basement where the horrors lurk.
You have like the example of that is Nick Nanavati YOLOing White Scars at an event and immediately going into like his worst matchup, basically, right? In like the first round or second round, and then losing right away. Because he literally fell into a hard counter at would normally not be paired. He would normally
round 2 of an 800 person GT. Somebody's got to play somebody's got to play the hard counters. There's so many games going on. It was you, buddy. That's the luck thing. Yeah, there is no event that you will ever win without some degree of luck being on your side. It doesn't always have to be a lot, but the bigger the event, the more luck you need to have to win it.
Yep, 100%.
So there you go, folks.
Or play Votann. But
You need to be
I was going to
lucky
say, unless you
or
play Votann. In which case, the only degree luck will matter is how many times you've played the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And how many 6-ups you can roll.
I mean, you don't really roll 6-ups in the mirror. You kind of just get mortaled to death, or you roll 4-ups.
Who's playing beams versus who is playing the railguns on their Hackathon land fortresses?
I mean, beams win that every time. Like, I can't even imagine winning that as rails, because one of your 3 rails, assuming all of them hit wound or whatever, gets blanked.
Mm-hmm.
Fun. No, you play one rail, 2 beams, and the rail just sits at the back and doesn't have to go forward and doesn't get move blocked. If you're playing a lot of terrain, it's actually kind of nice to have one that doesn't have to walk through.
I actually quite like Vic's 2 Fortress, 1 Hearthguard unit build, too. That's also really strong. With Warp Strike, it like just ruins a bunch of the matchups that have like Deep Strike charge chances into you. You're just like, no!
What if you just didn't get to do that, buddy?
Yeah, no. You see like GSC is like a maybe matchup because we don't really know. You're like, yeah, fuck that.
Imagine thinking GSC Deep Strike within 12 of you if they don't want to.
But like they can't oops your objectives or anything then. Like it's just like, no, will not.
How does that work exactly though? How does Vic's tech for that situation work precisely?
It's just a 12-inch no Deep Strike, Alec.
On a 10-man squad.
Oh, yeah. Fair.
Big
bubble.
10 squad of Terminators.
And the big old bubble of no deep striking near me, yeah.
Yeah, -1 damage Terminators.
Oh.
-1 damage on 2 wounds is basically like worse than 3 wounds, so whatever.
I don't know about that, man. It probably usually is, but like, man, there's a bunch of damage too. That real upset about that.
No, so it takes 2 damage 2s to kill a 2-wound model with -1 damage, or 2 damage 2s to kill a 3-wound model. It literally doesn't matter.
How does that work with Feel No Pains?
Feel No Pains are the only thing that changes that math, yeah. But it doesn't change it.
Like a Feel No Pain on that unit.
Yeah, I know, but it doesn't change it that much. Right, let's do something like moving on.
Sure. Do you want to do the plugs real quick, and then we'll transition?
Yeah, let's do the plugs. Hey, everybody. You've been listening to our show. That means you're probably enjoying it. That means you could probably do something like help us out. We'd really appreciate it if you would chuck something like a like or a comment or even a subscription on our YouTube page or our Twitch. Just hit the follow button. It's a really big help for us. If you're in a position to support us more, there are a couple of ways you can do that. The first is by showing up for the live stream every week at 11 p.m. UK and
5 p.m. Central Standard Time. 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard. Somebody said it's like 8 a.m. Australian Western time or whatever. I don't know.
It's 6 p.m. Western Aussie. I don't know what Eastern Aussie is.
I don't know.
It's not a real time. That you can find at youtube.com/c/statcheck or twitch.com/statcheck40k, I think it is. I don't know the Twitch one. That one's new to us. That one's new to us all. You can't blame me for that one.
It's probably linked in chat.
It's probably linked in chat. You can find all the information for that in our description. If you want to ask us questions, the best way to do it is to either be in the live stream or be in our Discord. To be in our Discord, all you have to do is chuck us $5 a month at patreon.com/statcheck. That gets you access to the Discord and the bonus content. We really appreciate everybody who helps us there. We are almost at 100 subscribers or 100 patrons, where I believe Nathan is going to be doing something like watching the SpongeBob movie with chat.
No, you're all doing it with me. You don't get to escape. You all have to come watch it too.
What?
Yeah. That's the 100-person thing. Once we get 100 patrons, I'll drag everyone else along with me, including Cliff and Jeremy.
Everyone will
get drink. No, we can drink during it.
Definitely not.
Wasn't asking about drinking, but okay.
I mean, you can drink. You can be high. I don't care.
Yeah.
We can make it into a game.
StatCheck does not support being high.
What? It's legal in
not where I am.
Yeah,
2 of the 3 places that we're talking about.
Yeah,
we only endorse it where it's legal. There you go.
Cool. No nose beers. Only regular.
No. This was a pot joke. Jesus Christ! Relax, you animal.
That is illegal here. We're not talking about that.
Yeah.
Just have an edible. Maybe smoke some reefer. Be happy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the people who made the SpongeBob movie were doing that. I mean, like, I've seen it many times because I was a child when SpongeBob existed. Nathan, as a 85-year-old, I'm assuming it will be new to you.
Yeah. You felt like a 50-year-old man this weekend just because of time, not vaccines.
Nathan,
take a
how is it
5-minute
that you've seen some amount of SpongeBob, right? Do you want to run us through
You
the
need a
super quick
5?
explanation? Oh, he's
Yep.
going.
Nathan's running away for 5 minutes, so
He
now
just
you guys are
wanted to get away from the SpongeBob. Nathan's only seen SpongeBob in Spanish.
Yeah, which is that's my favorite Nathan fact, by the way. I think whenever, because he's not here to hear this now, I think whenever we go to queue up the SpongeBob movie, we should do that, but it plays the Spanish version, and we just watch him.
we make him explain it to us as we're going because we
Yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah.
understand
No
Spanish.
subtitles, like nothing. Just
Nathan, you got to live narrate this for us. Every
Yeah,
time
yeah.
you get to translate something wrong, drink. I'm sure that wouldn't go horribly, horribly wrong or anything like that.
Maybe.
Right, Anthony. Because since we'll wait for Nathan to get back before we jump into questions, what can beat Votann? What's got a shot?
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna preface this with got a shot looks like a really outside chance if you're a lot better than your opponent.
That's fine. I got that bit sorted.
Yeah. So if Innes is playing in Scotland and he wants to beat Votann, it's Mortal Wound Nids, it's Harlequins, and that's fucking it. And those are super likely to get nerfed in the coming slate, I imagine. So
that's why I asked.
Oh, and maybe Creations of Pile.
God, that combat phase devolves into shit real fast, right?
Have you seen that happen yet?
Creations of Pile versus Berserk. Yeah, mate, buddy, I played 7th edition. I've seen Yunari take turns in each other's turns. You ain't got nothing on this.
Yeah. Well, no, I just meant in general. Like, have you seen that specific matchup yet? It's pretty funny.
No, I haven't.
Because the things that are usually used by Creations of Pile aren't super consistent melee, it gets like extra nonsensey because like Possessed either do like 60 damage or like 4 to unit of Zerk, so it's just like whee! No one knows what's gonna happen.
Just
it's
the
fun.
wheel.
Yeah, that matchup's a mess. That's one of the things I would consider taking to Coventry if it goes unnerfed as Pile. Just because like they have like an outside chance into Votann, and maybe I'll play people that are worse than me in the first couple rounds. So yeah, I'm trying to tune an Emperor's Children build to get close. Like a couple of the games I've played with Votann have been fairly close, but they've not been into what I consider the best builds. So I think that having access to a psychic secondary goes a long way because they have a hard time stopping you and they won't line of sight for certain things, which usually forces them closer to you. So like you have some level of like you can psychic interrogate, I guess. Abaddon, like Woundcap stuff is legitimately a bit of an issue for them. Like Abaddon is really strong into them. But how much it matters versus how much it doesn't, and how individually experienced you are with leveraging a combat character that's really important is also a huge deal there. So, and then sometimes you can just get scammed because they have invents. Probably not. Maybe if they buff Necrons again and let Catan get chapter tactics, then maybe. But I don't think they're gonna do that.
I don't think they're gonna do that, mate.
So maybe Catan's the next thing. They get core and Necrons.
Somehow this army's still at a 45% win rate. How do we get?
Yeah, I don't fucking know, man.
They changed Powers of the Army to also have a neutral zone count clause. You get 6 points on turn one if you go first.
Yeah, sure. If you're, yeah, I guess
they're gonna count the little center bit from Death and Seal as an extra quarter.
From every inch of the board that your opponent doesn't have models on, you get a point. Fuck it.
You just play a list where every time your opponent puts an ancestor token on something, you send it back into reserve, so they drop a point on the secondary at the end of the game.
Yeah, sure.
So I had 3 Scots Stupid Hawks with this on it. They got in reserve till turn 5, buddy.
Bye. Yeah.
I'm not feeling overly optimistic from what you've said.
No, you shouldn't be. It's a bad thing. Like a bad thing is about to happen. We shouldn't be optimistic about a bad thing happening, and the fake optimism I see in the community is really annoying me because I'm very optimistic as long as there's like even a vague reason to be. But I think we should be open and honest when things are just kind of shitty.
You didn't say that when Jakar was broken.
Yeah, because they weren't the same level of broken. Also, I
Yeah,
didn't
they
have a
were.
platform back then. No one should have listened to me back then.
We didn't.
I know, because I wasn't saying
But
anything.
Anthony, somebody didn't help me when I broke my legs. Why should we help you when you're breaking your legs? Jesus.
Yeah. The next
But-
person that tells me something like that, I might break their legs.
All I'm saying is you need to look in your codex, find the meta counters, and just play them. Just stop
What
trying to be a
section is that
snowflake
under?
and just look for the autocannons, look for the chainswords.
Is that like between Crusade and Detachment rules? Is that
They're
meta
just-
counters? Is that where it's
There's
at?
If you peel open one of the Crusade pages, and
Ah!
there's a case of Votann, break
That's-
glass.
That's
And it's
why.
where, it's where
that's
every
why
turn
the
of warrior
UK
gets the Reaper of
month
Obliterax, and
That's really why the UK is 6 months ahead of us, is because they've found the secret to peeling
They
those two
split the
pages
pages,
apart.
yeah.
Yeah. They've got it's all with like the British version of English with all the U's in color and stuff like that. So Americans just can't read it. They just can't
yeah, what you
process
actually got
it.
to do is if you go through and you press every letter that isn't there in the American English version, they open a secret code
Oh,
that downloads the new codex to your app.
it gets you the nice version of the app too, where the army builder works and stuff
Yeah, it's
like
just
that. I'm
Wikipedia,
sure.
but it's offline.
That was a good one.
So what I'm hearing is that mortal wounds, and then
Mortal Wounds and
Maybe-
also be Leviathan tanky.
Yeah.
okay.
I feel like every time I explain what beats Votann, people take it and then like exaggerate it a whole bunch and then go, this is how you beat Votann. Like the things I'm saying are what you need to have like a semblance of a chance against a player that is much worse than you. This isn't like mortal wounds, question marks, victory. This is like mortal wounds, 8 other steps, question marks, 15-5 in their favor. Like this isn't good.
But what if my Death Jester does a real good job and picks up that high call on the first turn? What if that happens, Anthony?
Dude, they could not deploy him and let him die in deep strike.
Okay, but Anthony, you have to consider, right? What if I'm way better and I don't let their beams hit more than one unit at a time?
Are you not gonna put any units on the board or on the objectives? Or not go on the or not kill any
No,
of
I'm just a good player, so I
stuff?
don't. My units are perfectly spaced so that any beam will just like fucking matrix through the middle of any models, regardless of where the tank is.
Well, I would say that you should have
And I'll just
used
cheat
that
and move.
power.
I'll just cheat and move them in between. Like the guy starts moving his models, I'll just drop a book on my models, be like, I'll just set them back up again so the beam line doesn't cross them.
That's
Similar
that's
or
a stratagem.
dissimilar to being
Listen, we can all break
tri-pointed
out.
and then getting out of the tri-point via magic.
Listen, bro, we can all break out the tactical water bottle, but like I don't know that that's gonna save us in this brave new world. Like it's not what you
Yeah.
think. It's
Look,
gonna
Aaron
be.
says, play a single Warhound Titan to counter beams.
There are no
works.
models to there are no models
have-
to overlap. Who are you gonna shoot
Honestly-
with the beams?
Honestly, expectations lead to resentment. And when you play a single Titan, you have no expectation of success. And that might just be what we need to play against Votann.
No expectations. True.
Also, like, another thing that I just want to, like, get out of the way really fast. Because, like, people keep being like, good players will find a way around Votann. And every single person that I talk to that I know to be a good player is just gonna fucking play Votann, and that's us getting
About
around
Votann?
it. Yeah, like it's not a thing. Like there's not gonna be like mystical faction loyal good players.
Eric will find a list.
I mean, there will be a few. There's
I don't
always
know
at least
that Eric
some.
but Eric will, and only he will make it work.
Yeah, Eric's gonna play like 120 fucking Ripper swarms or some stupid shit that doesn't make sense to mortal minds. But for the rest of us down here at the base of Mount Olympus, we're gonna have a real problem with this.
Okay, shall we move on to listener questions?
Yeah,
Because
please.
this is making me sad. This is reminding me of like the middle Fight Club episodes where the meta was just hell. And it's just like, what do we talk about for 6 episodes in a row?
And even that was better than this will be.
At least there we could talk
I don't know,
about
man.
two
At least I'm
factions.
playing Votann this time instead of watching Tower Customs ruin the game.
You were playing Crusher.
Exactly. And it was really stressful for me.
At least we could play like we could talk about 3 factions. We could talk
Exactly.
about Crusher.
Hey, and there
we
was
could
only
talk
like
about
3 of us
Tau,
doing well with
we
Crusher.
could
It
talk
wasn't
about
like Tower.
custodes. Like we could talk about 3 things, even if they were always the same, except for 1 or 2 things. Like occasionally that Emperor's Chosen Custodes guy took a unit of Terminators instead of something
guy's a
else.
hero.
God, when we were doing list reviews, and it's like, how do I find the one thing that's different in this Emperor's Chosen
I'm
list?
so happy we don't do that anymore.
I
Yeah,
did
dude,
so much
my
copy
sanity
pasting when
is
I was
so much
writing those
better now.
stats articles, though. I was like, man, this army list is all the same except for this guy has 1 relic difference than that other relic guy.
I'm objectively a better
difference.
person because I don't have to try and understand why a Pluteratum versus the Praetorian Plate matters.
Oh, God, please
The
don't
joke
make
is
me.
it doesn't.
Why are you
Yeah, but
making
you had
me
to
think
say
about it
something,
again?
buddy.
Yeah.
This is really cool because now this Terminator guy with the Praetorian Plate can zip around the board instead.
Do you remember when we were
That's
stressing
super
whether that counted
cool.
as heroic intervention or not? And now it's just like, yeah, so Beams deleted my army.
Yeah. You don't
I
have
got
to
with
think
it.
about
I tried to play the mission at all and tried to take 1 objective not in my home deployment zone, and I died to beams instantaneously.
That's right. This is where my oops triple hive turret list comes back. It's all bodyguarded, bro. When you get a beam, bro.
It's gonna beam the Tyrant Guard.
I'm not out line of sight. I'm not deploying them in line of sight, you moron.
You're never gonna leave your deployment zone. You're just gonna...
Exactly. But I'll take a psychic secondary. I'll take banners.
I think you might be ready for Art of War in us.
I'll take the psychic secondary. I'll take banners, and then I'll not pick a 3rd secondary because they're all terrible. And then I'll lose 15-5.
Innis is just going to take a triple patrol. Each one is going to have gargoyles.
5 Tyrant Guard.
3
Naturalized. They're all going to be heroic
Tyrant
intervention just in case he tries to take an objective off me.
And 3 units of 10 gargoyles that can drop down R&D and then die.
Gargoyles don't natively deep strike, bro.
No, I know, but it'll be okay.
Every turn, that's where his CP goes. He's just encircling the prey.
No, you just strat reserve all 3 squads. Come on. It's not like the Votann will screen you.
Well, the first one will start in the zone.
It's not
so
like
that
they'll
it can
just shoot you when you come in.
Oh no.
Or
This is some serious cope though at this point when we're talking about 15 Terror Guard, 30 gargoyles.
It's all right because you can't even run the naturalized camel build to give them all 2 up save because Votann ignore cover. So
Yep. Yep.
don't even pick.
I was going to say you should just run it as a forces build.
You can't score less than 0 on it. That is true.
No, you just run it as a forces build and double all your bonuses.
I'll just play forces. I'm not like I'm going to get the invulnerable save anyway against Magna Rails.
I hurt Anthony. That's okay. It's okay. Let's transition to questions while Anthony recovers from the psychological damage he just received.
I actually kind of want to keep piling on to see if we can break him. So, Anthony, do you reckon the 20 points to upgrade all of your guns by 1 strength and make them all beam weapons is good? Or do you think that 20 points is overrated? Because I keep getting lists that don't have it.
Wait, actually, this is something that's just really funny. So I think actually one of the first FAQs to come out is going to be a buff to fortresses.
Yep, because they should have 3 shots.
Because they don't have enough shots on their bolt cannons on the datasheet. So that's going to happen, and people's heads are going to just explode off their shoulders.
Because of the extra bolt cannon shot on the table, obviously.
That's right. Well, it'd be an extra 4 because they have 4 of them.
Right.
Yeah, they'll go up to 18 damage, 2 shots each.
Yep.
Or
on top of their primary gun.
Well, no, you have to lose beams to get those.
Yeah, I know. You get or beams, right? You get to choose.
Imagine you can take both.
Oh, man.
You can take half and half.
I wish you could just take like 4 and 4. Like you could just pay extra to be like, I have both.
I have 4 sets of bolt cannons, 4 sets of beams, and a giant beam cannon on top.
Yeah, let's just get this over with faster.
Yeah,
I think
what do you
honestly,
reckon? What do you reckon the first faction to get transhuman on 5s is going to be?
I don't know.
Custodes.
Probably the next set of Space Marines. Like,
it'll be Custodes, and Custodes players will still complain about it.
yeah, Custodes players just complain. That's what they do.
It'll just be the Custodes Armory of Renown. Remember Armies of Renown? Can't wait till Votann gets one.
What happened?
We don't need you to put that energy into the universe, but it'll be like the Uthar's
Berserker veteran cohort.
It'll be Uthar's league that will get it, which is the +1 toughness one or whatever.
No, that's
Uthar's
the Greater Thurian. He's actually got a good league.
Yeah, Greater Thurian's like number 2, number 1, depending on who you speak to.
The thing that Votann players will have to min-max is how quickly they can speed run your army. I think that'll be
No. The thing Votann players will have to min-max is the mirror.
It's just take more beams.
No, because they're not always better. They're just often better, but that's more of a product of Ymir, because Ymir gives you extra mortal wound output, which is a lot better in the mirror. There's a lot of... Yeah.
All right, let's do questions before I
Let's do questions before my brain melts. Why is Vince is the first question. I just like to add. I want to ask it. Why is Vince?
Oh, we're taking questions from our Discord. If it's in show questions, if you are not in there just now and you're in the chat, go and pop them there, and we'll definitely get to them. Otherwise, we will try and take them from the chat before we finish in about half an hour. So please do either of those two things. Okay, who is Vince?
Vince is, I'm assuming, me, but typoed.
Yeah, so there's somebody on Reddit posted Vince from Stat Check, and we don't have a Vince, so we can only assume that they read violence as Vince.
I think it was like a autocorrect thing where he wrote violence and his phone was like, no one's called violence, and wrote Vince.
It's true.
So yeah, we've decided we now have actually enough people to do an entire show of just Anthony's personas. We got Violence, Turbo, and Vince. Who I choose to believe is like the 3 stages. So like Violence is Anthony, like the Drakari player. Vince is him now, who is like shaded to fuck, and then Turbo is him at WTC hating life. So we've got like the before, the middle, and the end.
Yeah,
3 stages of Anthony.
Makes
and then actually just Anthony is him from when he was like a Disco Lord player.
What a sweet innocent boy Anthony was.
Okay. Most surprising faction player count to LGT. I was kind of shocked there was 15 GSE players. That seemed high.
That did seem high.
I get that it's out of like 700, so there's going to be a lot. Demons at 40 was kind of weird.
I was a little surprised that there were still so few AdMech players. I guess out of 700, I expected there to be a few more. There were 6,
by the way.
6 is not a lot.
6 Yunari as well. Like I expected there to be a bit more Yunari. People have been vaguely pretty hyped about them.
Well, what's the FAQ look like for Yunari for LGT?
I don't know. Somebody's probably got to print it out. Yeah, so we got 61 Necrons, 53 Marines on top of 31 Blood Angels and 22 Space Wolves, because and 30 Dark Angels, because those are the ones sad enough to put their faction as not Space Marines. Like White Scars players are better than that.
They just make me sad because they think they're special because they have a supplement.
Exactly.
You're just a sub faction, guys. You're just a sub faction. You're not any better than Ymir or Leviathan or
Sacred Rose. We got 48 Chaos Space Marines, 43 Tyranids, so still quite good rep for Tyranids. I expected that to be a little higher. I think that's probably surprising that it's not like second to Necrons outside of Space Marines.
Lots of abandonment of the Nids over there since Gaylord gave them up, or was talking about giving them up.
Is Gaylord giving them up? Oh, I kind of wish I'd played them again. I was just kind of like, I keep looking at this. I'm like, this would be so much easier if I just had the Reaper to just go and win the game on turn 1 rather than having to think for 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean his podcast with Vic is really great. Actually, that's a thing people should listen to if they're interested in other high-level
Fireside 40K, I believe.
Fireside Chat or something like that. It's really, really good.
Yeah, you should check that out. It's on YouTube and Spotify as well, I believe.
Yeah, it's on Spotify. I listen to it.
So yeah, I'm not super surprised by anything. It all seems kind of 25 Harlequins is pretty low, but they're generally a pretty low player faction. Chaos Knights at 15, Imperial Knights at 34 was probably the only other one that I
I would
was like,
expect those
oh,
to
that's
be
cool.
higher.
Yeah.
Lots of people, I think people are just kind of decided that the Mortal Wound combo is better than Chaos Knights at this point,
Which is
I
funny
don't
to
think
me.
it's wrong, but it is definitely a choice.
Yeah. I don't probably
The
agree with that.
LGT boards are not super favorable for moving knights through the mid board. There's a lot of places where they can get jammed. So Chaos Knights have a little bit of a melee problem with that, where they have to get a little closer, whereas Imperial Knights can just kind of vibe with Helverins a little better.
The
So I think
UKTC format is real good for fast guns, though, and CK have lots of fast gun platforms, so...
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a lot of ways to do that. Jeremy's pinging us because we are recommended in the 40k Fireside description on iTunes, I think.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean,
Sorry,
if anybody else wants to recommend us in their podcast, like
it's stat check. You're here already.
Yeah, you did it.
Congratulations, you done it. Back again with GSC list questions. How are you feeling listening to the LGT meta? I'm feeling horrible, but I always feel horrible about my list before a tournament, so I'm choosing not to believe it. I was terrified. My Crusher list was terrible when I won Manchester, and I was terrified my Niz list was terrible when I won Newcastle. So don't take what I say seriously.
Innis has very strong imposter syndrome, if you can't tell. Like,
bad.
very potent. It's potent.
Broadly not got the strongest self-esteem. That's what keeps me around for. Because I'm like, no, you idiot, you're good.
That's what all four of us really outside, like in the stat check room, are for, is to be like, Innis, you're gonna do great.
Every time I say I'm good, I have a little bit of a pain. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, you just have to remember Anthony will punch you every time that you say that to yourself.
That's fair. No, I'm generally feeling pretty confident. There's nothing that I've looked at so far that I'm like, I can't play that. If I play that Rax list, it's going to be a fucking tough game. But other than that, I'm like, I can play anything that's going, which is nice. That's where you want to be. But again, it's going to be luck. Like, if you're going to win 10 rounds in a row, you're going to have to get lucky sometimes, right?
Yep.
We literally spoke about that earlier.
Yeah.
Why is Vince?
We did explain the why of Vince.
Okay. Spitball for a bit about the data slate and changes you would like to see as part of one. Nothing changed. Unnerf everything. Let's just take it to vote. Look, we see Votann. Let's go and fight God. Give me back 5 Nexus on Harpies. Give me back in Circle.
Fuck it. Just legalize Crusher.
Unban Leviathan and Crusher.
I will. Yeah. Let's go and fight God.
I mean, we called him Godfucker.
We got to find out if he can do it or not.
Yeah, he was the chosen one.
How dare you stand 2 units next to each other?
Yeah. How dare you stand anything in the vague board state, even in the same zip code as that man? You know what they could do? You know what would make NIDS? Just one change that would let NIDS compete, like without even undoing
transhuman 5s.
No. Remove the 1 tyrant per detachment clause.
And give us back Crusher.
Sure. But
give me back full luck dice.
Let's bring back Dark Technomancer Liquefiers, Artists of Flesh, +2 command points for patrols. Bring back completely unnerfed AdMech.
Give my Pain Boys core.
I would unbox my pain engines so fast if they gave them core. I would play that at everything.
Remove the aircraft
until
limitation.
The end of the edition.
So I can play 3 Harpies again. I can play 3 Harpies as it was always meant to be. Let's do this and let's do it properly.
But
we can slow down a little bit.
Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Undo that and then make the Harpies their old point cost so they'd be cheaper.
Yeah. Undo all the points nerfs. Net back to Nachman command points.
Except for Votann. Votann have to play Nephilim.
Yeah.
Everyone else
Stranglehold to the last comeback. But not for Votann.
Back to 90-point Void Weavers with full original transit and stuff like that too.
Yep. And Mirror Architects.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Mirror Architects
beams.
Votann so bad.
Look, I'm not.
Man,
I'm not
it's
saying.
great that your 4 inches, like your 4 inches, is so important, but your gun is 6 inches further away.
Ah, that would be so good.
Attack and kill God. That's all I'm saying.
All we got.
All right.
Crusher, Levy, unnerved Harlequins.
Yeah.
Custodes can have all their strats back. It won't help.
No.
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
the
It
one.
won't do it.
That's the one line I draw. No.
Yeah, Custodes get
none of that.
nothing. Fuck them.
Sorry.
And current Tyranids get 8 dead hive guards.
Okay.
Let's
Sure.
let's
Why
do it.
not?
Come on, we're doing this proper, boys.
We're gonna
Yeah.
take off all the ignore LOS nerfs too, so we can just
Yeah. No, the data slate gets removed from Games Workshop's website, like wholesale.
No.
Sorry, guard.
All the nerfs in the data slate. All the
No,
buffs.
all the buffs too. Fuck guard.
buy armor of contempt for people.
Yeah, fuck them.
Your pain blades back. You're leaving us back to a 3 armor safe.
Yeah, unlucky. Shouldn't have played an NPC faction.
Okay.
Damn.
If you were to take a bad army to a GT or major, what would you bring and why?
Chikari.
Tyranids.
I guess you could make a bad
totally
tier
dead
army.
faction.
Like that's
I did. I played Jormungandr at a tournament. I just did it.
Yeah, that army was
Um,
bad. That's true.
It was. It was
But-
really bad. It was
But
like
honestly, guard.
800 points off of a competent Leviathan army, but
But it's still a lot of. That's like half. I was like halfway to a competent Leviathan army, and so was guard. So
it was double tyrant, so it can't be that bad.
I was gonna bring an Imperial Guard army if I was gonna bring a bad army to something.
What have I not played in a while that I like?
Death
Iron
Guard.
Hands. Iron Hands. Hell
Did
yeah.
you play White Scars in this? You could
Not
play
this
White
is-
Scars.
I've not played. I've played a couple of games of White Scars like right at the start of this edition, and I kind of ignored them. I've not played White Scars since the Codex came out. Really?
You just play. You're gonna YOLO White Scars then at this GT.
I think I would consider. I would probably play Jukari. Actually, if I had the rack
Hey,
for it, I'd
how
probably
are
play
White Scars?
Jukari.
How are White Scars into maybe that's the way I call it, White Scars into Votann. Just coin flip with Hunter Master Snares, mate.
You really want to use a bunch of White Scars, Lightning Claws against Votann?
No, bro. It's all about Blade Guard and Khan.
The +1 to wound instead. Yeah.
Yeah. Khan is reroll damage. Look, man. I know you're looking at me like that because it hurts you, but it hurts me more.
But we did say bad
I
army
think that's true.
into a GT.
Yeah, I'd play Jukari.
It's a good
With the
answer.
return of the unchargeable wall, now that the 2-inch engagement range is gone, do you think they'll try something else to fix it, or do you expect to just throw in the towel? That was their one attempt.
Please just put the WC rule in, please.
Just do the WTC rule. It'll be fine.
WC rule is good, and it solves its own problem because it never comes up because it exists.
That's true. That's one of those. It's like a heroic intervention stratagem. You never have to use it.
For context, the WC rule is that you can exist inside a wall a little bit. Just don't ask. Don't worry about it too much. You're in the wall, and then get out of it the first possible time you can. It's okay. What's your picks to Turbs, Nathan, and the Discord crew to get more people on board learning Legion in the next TTS League? Legion is hella fun. It is really, really easy to play. And you get to hit people with Darth Vader.
I forgot to sign up.
I'm too busy to sign up right
What
now.
happened?
We'll do another one in a couple months, probably.
I just forgot.
I just have negative free time. This is my free time.
Right
That's
now.
fair.
In this.
For Anthony and Ines, so fuck you, Nathan.
Oh. Wow.
I mean, it'll make sense in a second.
You got a tournament question and you can't ask Nathan, huh?
Yeah.
What are your tips for someone who wants to be competitive but cannot afford tournament costs and doesn't have an especially competitive local meta?
I'm the one who did the most TTS tournaments.
Yeah, this is actually a best.
This is
Yeah,
the
Nathan, you wanna
Nathan
take this
question. There's
This is someone that's less familiar with us as a group.
It's funny because like I think of the three of us, I participated in the most TTS 40K events.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
and
I
like
did a
doing
bunch,
any-
but
Oh,
I did a bunch, but like only during lockdown. Remember, lockdown in the UK was like lockdown. I didn't play 40K in person for a year.
Yeah.
That sounds rough.
Yeah, it was real
That's
shit.
basically all I did.
Did a lot of TTS.
I played a lot of TTS too during the pandemic, but there are multiple TTS leagues or TTS discords where they essentially just run tournaments and seasons fully on TTS. The best known one is Tactical Tortoise, who runs the most of them.
Don't do that.
But
Fuck that guy.
but also fuck that guy is what I was trying to get at. Otherwise, it's really easy to organize those leagues. There are less of them now that like the world has opened back up to playing 40K in person, as it were. But there are still a few. You just have to look online a little bit. And there are
You can
still
get
places that are
the
running TTS
TTS
events.
40K like general official Discord is Alpha League.
Yes,
I think those ones are pretty decent. If you can get involved in like any of the sort of WTC community ones, like they do a bunch of team events and stuff like that. Greek Hammer, the Polish guys run a bunch of stuff like that. There's plenty about. Just try and find somebody. If you just if you're on our Discord, just ask in the TTS chat. There will be people who can probably send you a link to some.
Or you can just jump into our Discord and ask to play people if you don't necessarily need tournaments, but you can just play any number of people via our Discord or a lot of other Discords if you're in them. Lots of local Discords are good for that if you can't play games, like even state level Discords or gaming league Discords.
Yeah, and then as far as ways to mitigate costs, look for like actual physical tournaments. Look for close by stuff that you can drive to. Look into carpooling options. Try and split with like if you know somebody from online who's going to the same event, see if they want to split hotels. Try to make sure they're not a serial killer in advance. I recommend that quite heavily. But like you can split hotels with stuff. Anthony's going to split hotels with us when he comes over for Coventry, just so that it's not like extortionate for him. And you can do that on a much smaller scale, or try and find somebody local who is interested in growing it with you and getting it to competitive. Trying to get better with somebody is the easiest way to do it long term.
Yep. Anthony, you had something to say.
I was going to say just that depending on what country you're in, like playing on TTS might be one of the better ways to get involved in your team's WTC scene.
Yeah, for sure. What time is the show EST? About an hour and 20 minutes ago.
6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Compared to, say, 7th Ed Yanari, how busted do you think dwarves are? You guys are not going to get that one, but...
Well, I mean, what's the win rate in testing? Like 90% or something?
In terms of sheer mechanics, I think Yanaris were more bullshit. But the game was better equipped to deal with them. I think the actual power level of Yanari was about the same as like compared to the rest of the game, Yanari in 7th edition was about as powerful as Votann. It's just that everyone else had a Votann level build as well.
Right.
Yanari were real fucking stupid. So do you remember the soul burst mechanic from the start of 8th edition where you could like activate and if you killed something and you were within 7 of it, you could activate again with like one action, so you could like shoot or move or charge or whatever. You could do that in your opponent's turn and your turn, and it was on every unit instead of just one per turn. So like you would have like 9 squads of bikes, and you would kill one, and then that squad would activate, kill a unit, which would then activate another squad of bikes, which would kill a unit, which would activate a squad of bikes, and they like their entire army would activate in your turn. And then they do it again in their turn, with everything activating twice. It was so absurd, but the game had generic defensive mechanics at the time, so you could have like, cool, you can have all of that kill stuff, but all my stuff's got a total rollable save, so I don't give a shit. The defensive, so the power level output is about the same, but the game's broad line defensive mechanics are completely out of line with that, where it just doesn't matter. So yeah, they're probably about as bullshit as 7th Ed Yanari for the people who remember that at the height of like triple Wraith Knight that would move 24 inches and then charge you. Back when Wraith Knights were a terrifying 300 point. Back when Wraith Knights were a 300 point unit that couldn't be wounded by anything less than strength 5 and had a 5-up feel no pain.
Yeah, that seems all right.
Yeah, it was real bad. And then they rolled D3 attacks with a small blast template, and everything on a 6 just got removed out of the template. Just removed, not even like roll. You thought beams were bad. It's real bad. If you remember the Yanari times, this is about Yanari times. This is like Yanari with an Inquisitor with Service Skulls and a Collector's Assassin bad.
Those were words.
How do I get Nathan to be my friend and teach me math? Join our Discord bit. You're not in it, Nick.
More money.
Also, what are you guys doing that?
Nick is in the Discord. He asked that question.
But he's not in the he's not in the math bit. His name's not yellow.
Yeah. It's true. You don't have the learning thing. I just finished the syllabus. It's published. I have to organize it with Anthony. That's basically all that there is to it. And I've been very busy.
I have a lot more free time than Nathan. Yeah.
Last week
I've just been
about
horrifically
the education
busy.
system, leaving people behind on math. All I get to think about is me. That's not a question. Guys, stop having discussions.
I'm sorry I had like a short discussion about how the American education system is
right, but you're meant to answer questions on the Discord.
He didn't ask that particular question on the Discord. He was asking about being my friend in the education system.
Oh, that's fair. Yes, Nick. The lessons tier is an additional level up for access to the math stuff because it's Anthony, even more of Anthony and Nathan's free time. Question for Ernest: how is prep for LGT gone for us foreigners? What makes the LGT so unique? Super quick one. I've been playing a bunch of games. That's about it. Not really prepping for it in any specific way. What makes it unique? Almost nothing. I say this in like the nicest sense I could possibly, and I said this on Contact Lost when I was on it last week. LGT is like if you took the platonic ideal of the average 40k event and made it 700 players. It is everything is completely just what you would normal 40k. It is 5 to 10 rounds of that. Expect nothing of it more than that. It is very sterile by the box. That is what LGT is. That's what the entire circuit is. That has its own appeal. There is nothing extra going on at LGT. It is just about LGT. Whereas like at Vegas, you have everybody's in Vegas. You're on holiday. This one you're in a random event center in the middle of London, or on the ass end of London. More than that, you're there to play 40k. That is its unique selling point. It's the size. That's all. That's what it is. And that is not a criticism. I want to make that very clear that I think that's a very interesting thing to have. But it is tournament in a box.
Nice.
Seems good.
Vince, what are your expectations for Coventry and how are you going to prepare for your first UKTC event?
I broadly don't expect to do super well, which is like a kind of a funny thing to say for a tournament that I'm literally flying overseas for. I am mostly going because it's going to be in the middle of like the worst part of the hell meta where things are like unnerfed and shit's a nightmare. So I'm mostly going over because I have a lot of people in Europe that I'm really looking forward to seeing. So Innes and the Team Scotland lads that are coming over for it being very high on that list. But yeah, I have played a couple of games on those boards now. Blastmasters feel just so good on them. Like being able to just like hit angles and go basically yard with the shooting is money.
Fast shooting is king on LGT boards.
It's not even that fast, right? Like they have an assault profile, but it's not super good. But like the just being like infantry based shooting that can run through walls
shooting that can move, is what.
Is really strong. So I can see myself maybe going to like a 4th Noise Marine unit and then dropping a possessed unit, or I'm just gonna go fuck it and I'm gonna take 30 possessed. I haven't decided which side of that coin I want to exist on yet. Some of that will depend on if Bile gets nerfed, how I feel about Word Bearers, and if I want to play Emperor's Children or not at the time. Emperor's Children feels real fucking bad in the Votann sometimes. Like the Blastmaster shooting land train situation is just single tier. So you do ecam with what you got, though. We'll see what I feel like going into the event. But prep for right now is focused on GW Chicago because I don't want to overlook giant events. Frankly, prep right now is focused on this RTT that I have next weekend because overlooking games is not a thing I try and do.
That's fair. Nathan, how are you and your crew planning and trying to grow the competitive Chicago scene?
Working on running more RTTs right now. So we have 2 RTTs. One is in November and one is in December that we're planning. And then we're trying to plan some more. The challenge in Chicago is mostly just finding GT space that isn't going to make us broke in the process of running a GT-sized event. So right now we run roughly 12 to 18 person like RTT-sized events, and then that's kind of where we're at. Other than that, it's mostly about just kind of promoting local gaming groups. So I'm part of the Grimdark Filthy Casuals group, which is a tournament organizing group here in Chicago and gaming group. It's about reaching out to more stores and kind of just expanding RTTs out further into like the greater Chicagoland area to try to get people interested and realize that there are events all over Chicago. That's really what we're doing. A lot of little reaching out to people and trying to get a lot of people onto Discord and knowing each other and meeting one another, and then just running more events. That's it.
There's not really a process to do it fast. You just got to do it incrementally over time, right?
Yeah, and right now we're working on building up like terrain and stuff like that because we do have some older terrain. But part of building terrain is making sure that your terrain is good terrain, and it takes a lot of time. And terrain is the most expensive part of doing events. Stores will frequently give you mats and things like that, or you can get mats from suppliers at a discount, but not usually terrain. And terrain is very expensive.
Especially when they keep adding the amount we need when they release armies like Votann.
It's true.
Yeah.
The doom and gloom of Leagues of Votann is pretty real online. How would you encourage players to attend tournaments during the unnerfed Leagues of Votann meta?
I wouldn't.
I was just gonna say I wouldn't. You don't have to go to things if they're gonna be rough and terrible. You can find ways to find your own fun and stuff, but like as someone that I would describe as a fairly committed 40k player, I don't like if you don't think you're gonna have fun or you don't have an army that you think has like a reasonable enough way to have like if this all goes sideways, like if CSM goes like gets like just a bullet in the head and Harlequins somehow dance through this, I'll probably play Harlequins for the rest of the season because even losing with Harlequins, you get to do nonsense. So, and that puts you in most games, especially against broken bullshit. So that might be a thing that I do, like watch this space. But that would be my way of having fun in that meta. I would just play the thing that like makes me the most happy, win or damage dealing agnostic, and for me that's Harlequins.
Yeah, I would just say if you're not going to win the tournament anyway, it probably doesn't affect you as much as it will. Like if you're a 3-2 or a 2-3 player anyway, you're going for the social as it is. The social's not going to change. So go play games. You might not even play Votann. Like I wouldn't worry too much about that. Even in like the height of Harlequins meta, there was only so many Harlequins players, and Votann are a new army.
Yeah, I mean, go to an event to have fun, but just understand that Votann exists and probably is going to win that event if they're present.
Yep. And do you feel it's important to listen or gain information from international metas or content creators, even if the terrain you play on and your local meta and events are completely different? If so, why? Sam does not pull punches with long-ass questions that want like 40-minute answers, does he?
I mean, the answer to this in the most simple terms is yes, because you should get information from as many sources as is possible. Unless but use your critical thinking skills. And like if something comes from abroad or from someplace, even in your local area, and is just weird, like take a moment and think about it and go, oh, well, they were playing with no terrain.
Yeah, like you can ignore any GW Open results.
Whoa. Easy. The GW Open is usually okay. I don't know what the fuck happened at the last couple where they started just not turning terrain, but like the one I went to was great.
But you can ignore any GW Open results. Yeah, you should listen to anybody who is competent and speaking on an issue with some level of capacity. So like, don't listen to us, but go listen to a bunch of other people.
No, definitely listen to us. Shut up, you idiot! Jesus Christ!
So please listen to us because there's two.
Ennis, go to bed.
There's two top 10 globally ranked players in here, and then me. So you should listen to people
who are experts. To include his alter egos.
Yeah, a lot of us.
Yeah.
Like find
Team Australia,
people
Turbo
that
that's tattoo.
Provide good information. Think about the information that they give you, and decide if that information is valuable or not. You're going to have to use some of your critical thinking skills during this process. I'm sorry. You might have to think about the information you receive and why it's valid or not.
Or just do what I do and blindly copy a list and apply it to whatever meta you're in anyway, and it'll be fine. Terrain is overrated. Just be good. Why did I portray Leviathan Heretic? Well, first of all, Aaron, you were playing Kraken when we first played, so back in your box. You wish.
Busted.
Somebody's been caught lying on the internet.
I am playing GT Cult because they are, quite frankly, I played 80 tournament games in a row of Tyranids. I wanted a break. And I happen to be quite happy with this list, and the break coincided with LGT, so I have kept it going. I would not have been unhappy playing turns for LGT, but I'm also not unhappy playing GT Cults.
And it's hitting you with the, it's not you, it's me.
Exactly. Do you think AdMech's tournament performance is in line with the Army's expected performance potential?
No,
but it doesn't really matter.
It's not
people
far
don't
off.
want to play them, and I don't blame them.
It's not. You can work your ass off for a 40% win rate with that army, or like
Yeah.
50%
I don't
if you're
think
real
so.
good.
I think it like in the hands of a good player, it can.
I don't know,
always
man. I
make you
watched
do some
like Rickard Nilsson do fucking shit with him at WTC. Like, and I
He's
don't
done
think
okay.
anybody. You guys like troll dumpstered Latvia. Well done, guys.
I mean, like even past that, like he did art there. Like I said, I think you can do okay with them. I just don't think the amount of
you
effort
got to
that you
protect.
put in.
I think you guys protected them
Isn't
in pairings a
the-
little bit as well, didn't you? Just to be.
Not really, sorta. They were protected as insofar as like our entire team was built to kill knights, and like if they got them, it was thumbs up. But
Yeah, but I think I might just have enough bad matchups that you're probably going to have a rough time if you try to play them at GT level. Like, you don't want to play Nits, you don't want to play Votann, you don't want to play Quins.
I don't think that's an army that rewards you for as much work as you put into it.
That's what I think it is
short
too.
answer.
Yeah.
How
I would
did
say
Tau
that their
fare against
performance
Votann?
is like a little
Badly.
under. Yeah.
And how much of a fuck you nerf points would you need to give Squatston to maybe be balanced if it was just points?
25 to 30%.
50%?
No, like sorry, I meant that wrong. Like 100%. They would need to play with 1,000 points.
Yeah.
And even then, a lot of armies would just get absolutely wrecked by them.
Oh, I guess if you only do points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's
So
only
yeah,
points.
then yeah, half. If we're not changing any rules to coincide with it, then it's half. You get half the points.
It's real worrying, boys. So just
Yep.
to confirm, that means 22-point Hearthkin, 44-point Berserkers, 460 to 500-point tanks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Just confirming that you guys understand the math on that.
Yep.
How many burst cannons is not enough? Any burst cannons is not enough. Don't run burst cannons. Run plasma and cyclic. It's more fun.
Mostly for your opponent who doesn't want to sit there and watch you roll yet another shooting phase.
Dude, it's so tilting. Actually, no, you can run burst cannons on Cold Star commanders. Like that's fine because they get like really cool extra ones. It's disturbing how many shots those guys get when they're just like, yeah, I have like this gun, this gun, this gun, this gun. That's 45 shots. Oh,
Yep.
okay, cool, buddy. Cheers. How did Tau fare against Votann? 3 hammerheads, long strike, 15 curses suits, 30 plasma missiles.
Badly.
Doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
Underneath that, as Nas says, you lose. Tau won't beat Votann.
And that's a man who's tried both sides of that a couple times.
You're gonna shoot one land fortress, real maybe dead.
Yeah, real maybe dead is right.
Real maybe.
Real maybe, by the way, not real dead. Like real maybe.
They still get saves against that, I think.
Yeah.
Or Hammerhead? No, Hammerhead's AP6, right?
Yep.
Okay, so no save.
No,
save.
so you're fine. You're good.
Yeah.
Fine. But they're gonna blank one of them. You're gonna fail to wound with one of them. So you're gonna like maybe kill one, and then they kill everything back.
Yeah, whatever you put in line of sight.
Yeah, cool. I think we're gonna write it up there because I have been told to go to bed with my co-host already because I did the self-deprecation thing again, which they don't like, which I just think is funny. But they don't like that. So
We're very much on team cheer Innes on so that he succeeds.
no, thank you.
Do
Thank
the
you,
plugs
everybody,
again, Innes.
for joining us. Locusu, the Votann Germany discussion is in the middle of the episode. If you go from about minute 40 through to about an hour, we're kind of talking Votann supremacy with a little bit of break here and there. But I'm going to write us out now. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I have been Innes, and I've been joined by Anthony and Nathan. This has been StatCheck episode 11. What happens in Houston stays in Houston. This week, we were talking all about Votann and the meta and Votann, and a lot of Votann, actually. It's going to be a lot of this for the next while. So if you enjoyed that or you hated that or whatever, let us know. If you want us to stop talking about Votann, we will find other things to talk about. But for the time being, people seem to want us to talk about it, so we're keeping doing it. As always, you can find us at youtube.com/c/statcheck. And if you want to support us more, you can check us out at patreon.com/statcheck, where we really appreciate all the help and support we get. We are almost at 100 patrons, and it would be really cool to hit that sometime this week, sometime this month, whenever. We're going to do a SpongeBob movie marathon, I believe, or a SpongeBob movie watch party.
Marathon?
Marathon, yeah. We're going to watch 2. I'm going to make you watch like 5, and then we'll watch 1.
We'll put up a poll when we hit 100, and we'll let you guys pick something.
Yeah.
Yep.
When we do 200, I promised to wear a Peach costume, which you'll get if you join the Discord.
That's true.
But that's
Peach.
200. We're a while off that one. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope you all enjoyed yourselves. Please recommend us to a friend. Actually, let's do that one. Recommend us to a friend this week. You have a friend. Recommend us to them. Or your mom, whatever. I don't mind. Click to click. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.